February 9th, 2022. My parents' generosity. Yesterday, I took food from Red Lobster over to Mom and Fred for lunch. His daughter was there to take him to change the safe deposit boxes and to make sure that she and her siblings were still on the will to get his house when he dies. They worried that he'll leave something, or everything, to my mother, so they still don't know her at all. During lunch, Mom mentioned my father ticking off the neighbor at 4911 Liberty Street by saying, "There goes the neighborhood," when she announced that she was from New Jersey. She retaliated by calling in code enforcement because he wasn't allowed to park his box truck there, so he got fined for it. I had been wondering about the Liberty Street house ever since my cousin Scott Smith died. In 11/14/1995, my parents had paid $23,700 for the two-story house that overlooked a pond when they bought it out of an estate. On August 26, 1996, my father's birthday, they sold it to Scott and his then-wife Carrie for $65,000 and held the mortgage with no money down. By 2006, Scott and Carrie had divorced and she was entitled to half of the house. I don't know, but I am guessing that my parents gave Scott the $20,000 to buy her out, so that he wouldn't lose the house. Scott never had any money, rarely paid my parents, even the low mortgage payments. They probably shelled out the money for the new roof years later because Scott's highest paying job was working as a trash collector, and he couldn't stay employed because he was just too unreliable to work. When he was found dead in the house in October of 2019, I did a search on the property because my mother was still owed $20,000 on the property. I handed it all over to Mom and didn't ask for details. I knew he had rarely paid and never knew until yesterday what he still owed her. He had been so far behind at one point and drinking his life away that I offered to buy out their position and foreclose on him so that I could make them whole while allowing them to save face with the rest of the family. I'd made the same offer to them when my Uncle Terry was doing the same thing to them on a similar sweetheart deal they had made to him at the house at Castleberry Road. My grandparents had bought 10 acres in Odessa and had split it in January of 1975 between their 4 children, giving the eldest, Harold, the parcel with the house. In June of 1997, my parents sold the house we had built on stilts next door to the original house to Terry for $27,000, with no money down and low payment mortgage back to them. Terry's best job was selling paint at Sherwin-Williams. He was mostly unemployed, and his wife Linda, who worked for the FBI, was the primary breadwinner. Several times over the years, my parents were worried that Terry would lose the house to an outsider because he kept mortgaging it for the equity. The family was pretty strong in their conviction to keep this 10 acres under family ownership, so I offered to be the bad guy again and buy out their position to keep that from happening. They turned me down, and eventually, in January of 2015, the bank foreclosed on it and sold it to an outsider. I even offered to buy it at foreclosure, but the family was so sure that Terry would find a way to redeem it that they didn't want me to do it. Now it's gone, but I digress. Back to Liberty Street. So, I asked Mom whatever happened with the house, and she said that Mary, Scott's mother, inherited it and sold it for $240,000. Mom got back the rest of her mortgage of $20,000, and Mary used the windfall to pay off the car that she bought for Mom a few years ago. I don't know the exact details of this car transaction, but my mother had a new car around the time that Dad died. Shortly thereafter, she gave me some song and dance about why she had gone out and bought exactly the same car again and sold her year-old version to Mary. She said Mary needed a car and couldn't afford one, so she let her have her first car for $200 a month and no interest until it was paid off. My parents never financed cars after financing and losing everything back in the early 70s, and I don't know and didn't ask how much the balance was. My mother seemed happy to have her initial car and house investments repaid and for Mary to benefit from the balance of the profit. Seems to me it should have been split with Mom, and maybe Mary offered, but that didn't happen. And what happened with the money Mom did get from the house and car paying off? She took Fred and all of Chuck's clan to Hawaii because Fred had been to every state in the Union other than Hawaii, and she wanted him to check that off his bucket list. As I thought about her generosity to others, I reflected on her generosity to me. She and Dad gave me the first cars I ever had, the Datsun pickup and the Mazda wagon. They bought me the first new car I ever had, which was the Volkswagen Rabbit. They built the house at Castleberry Road and then gave it to me, until they asked me to give it to Chuck. They financed the renovation of the box trailer in the backyard into a cattery. In 1998, they bought a Dodge Ram van and donated it to the sanctuary when our old one caught fire. Twice after that, when my dad bought new trucks, they gave me his trade-in trucks, the gray Dodge Ram pickup and the 2012 Toyota I drive today. I bought the black 2005 Dodge Ram in between those myself. They had given Jamie a fairly new Saturn when she began driving. I think I bought her the PT Cruiser, but she made payments on it. When they bought her the Camaro Battle Cat, they held the loan at 2% interest and payments from Jamie of $650 per month until it was paid off. I have never pried to ask what they have done for Chuck's family, but I'm sure it was much the same. After Dad died, Mom announced that all the grandkids got new cars, and Jamie got her RV. I know Chuck ended up driving their other cars as they bought new ones. My parents' generosity has been inspirational and influential, as I try to do as much as I can for Jamie and Howie. What I have not yet mastered is recognizing my parents' generosity without feeling like almost everyone who benefited from it must have taken advantage of them. I always feel like I should do more for my mother, but I know that every dollar I give her will end up going to all those around her with their hands out.